Hi friends, Living Fit with Laura on this very, very cold, damp, drizzly day. Let's say the prayer with me. This is the day my Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in the day. We are rejoicing in the day. That means we are rejoicing today. Not if this or that happens tomorrow, next week. I will not live in want today. That means we are grateful for our blessings. We are grateful for our lives. We are not complaining about what we don't have. We are grateful for what we do have. So when we say, this is the day my Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in the day. I will not live in want today. We are doing exactly that. We are not living in want. When we live in want, we are complainers. We also decide, I will not criticize, curse, condemn, or negatively compare. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy. We do not criticize, curse, condemn, or compare, or negatively compete. Because we want to live well this day. We want to be a blessing to other people. So that is why we don't criticize ourselves or others or nitpick. Curse, meaning the thoughts that we think and the language that we use. For those of my friends that are constantly using the F-bomb, I'd like to encourage you to realize when you use the F-bomb, especially in everyday language, F this, F that, you're essentially cursing your life. We don't want to curse our life. The F-bomb is not a nice word, so let's ditch that word. When we negatively compete with other people, we are seeing other people as our enemies, and that's not necessarily a good way to look at other people. If we are in the workplace and we have a very efficient and successful manager or co-workers, they can be an example to us to be motivated to work harder, to learn new skills. But when we negatively compete with other people and undermine them, that is seeing other people as our enemy. Many, many people do that in the workplace. That doesn't mean we have to do it. We don't repay evil for evil. We repay evil for good, meaning we want to be an example of a good coworker. We want to be an example of a good friend. So on this beautiful day, we continue to move forward to those things that lie ahead, putting behind us those things that lie behind. I want to talk to us briefly about an experience I had a couple days ago that really, really upset me. This is an example of what we are not to do. When we have an unpleasant experience with someone, it can be our best teacher of what not to do, how not to make other people feel. So we also remember that people are who they are, and they usually do not change. So we are not to expect anything different. We accept people for who they are, just as God loves and accepts us. We are to love and accept other people, but we are also to set a line in the sand, draw a line in the sand of what we are not willing to tolerate. So this is a person I frequently have seen on my running route for the last 5 years. I've gotten to know her. And I noticed that this person is very, very self-absorbed, very self-centered. An example of what not to do is continue to invest our time and energy in a one-sided monologue. When my mother died, this person was unable to simply say, I'm sorry for your loss. The conversation is never a conversation. It's always a monologue. It's always all about her. And I hadn't seen her for a while, and a couple days ago, she actually came out of her house to chase me down when she saw me walking with my dogs. And she didn't mention that my shepherd, Daisy, was no longer with me. I have two dogs that she had never met, Blossom and Pixie. Daisy passed away in December, right after Christmas. Pixie I rescued in October, right before we learned Daisy was sick. And Blossom I rescued about 6 weeks ago. So I mentioned to her, I thought she was chasing me down to ask me about Daisy. Incredibly, when I mentioned Daisy had passed away from lymphoma, she didn't say a word. It doesn't take much to say, I'm so sorry for your loss, I'm sorry that happened. Some people have a need, they're so self-absorbed, they have a chronic need to talk about themselves all the time at the expense of others. So, to my amazement, actually it should not have been an amazement, because this person has always been very self-absorbed. She proceeded to continue to showcase herself, talk about herself. I could have been a mannequin standing there and it wouldn't have been any different. Listen, let's not be that way. For crying out loud, this is the epitome of insensitivity to ramble and babble on and on about yourself and not even be able to say, I'm sorry for your loss at the passing of your mother. I'm sorry at your loss when you got laid off from your job. I'm sorry at the loss of the death of your dog. We are not to be that way, because that is an extremely insensitive, selfish way to be. Now, I have tolerated this behavior because I am very compassionate toward people, and I understand everyone has their quirks. Some people are lonely and they need to talk about themselves. But it got to the point where running out of her house to stop me on my run with my dogs to continue talking about herself, I drew a line in the sand, and instead of standing there for the next 45 minutes to listen to her talk about herself, I interrupted her and I said, I really need to get going. We are not to be doormats. We are not to be doormats. We are not also not to participate in an unproductive, empty interaction that is a monologue. I have put up with this for 5 years. I'm no longer going to put up with it. I have a lot of patience and a lot of tolerance with people, but in this case, I have drawn a line in the sand. Maybe I'm oversensitive to it because I have a member in my extended family who is very much like that. Always very, very talking about herself. It's always all about her. Unable to be sensitive or aware or engage a conversation and care about other people, because when we are constantly talking about ourselves, we are really unable to care or engage with other people. Listen, let's not be like that. A conversation is a two-way street. We listen more than we talk. And when we are just monologuing on and on and on, then it is extremely rude. It is a rip-off, because we're actually wasting the other person's time, and also we don't really even get to know the other person, do we? If we are rambling on and on about our lives. Let's stop and have some sensitivity to other people. If we are wanting to meet the needs of other people and bless them and make a difference, positive difference in their lives, we are listening to them, we are noticing their body language, we are sensitive to what they need. So the other point I want to mention is with this person, it is very self-absorbed. She lost her husband due to old age issues 5 years ago when I first moved here. And I gave her food, I gave her cards, I've been very kind to her. She did not say thank you. When someone extends a gesture of kindness or generosity, it doesn't take much to say thank you. A lot of people are so self-absorbed they're not able to do that. So that could have been a warning sign for me, but no, I look past that. I made excuses for her, and year after year she would kind of ruin my walks by stopping me to talk about herself. One time I was making a video in one of my favorite fields. To this open field here, I often make my videos. She actually followed me in her car and stopped and started talking, oblivious to the fact that I was making a video, so she ruined my video. Listen, we are not to be doormats. We are to be patient and loving with people, listen to people, but also we are to draw a line in the sand and not participate in a fruitless waste of our time when we see that another person is all about them. Most people do not change, so I should not have been surprised, but I was disappointed. I was disappointed in myself for the hours and hours of my life that I wasted in what essentially has been a monologue and not a relationship. Moving ahead, we are to set boundaries with people. We are to respect ourselves enough so that we do not allow other people to rob us of our joy. We are also not to allow other people to use us as sounding boards. Let me say that again. We are not to allow other people to use us as sounding boards. If someone needs to talk and they need support and love and a listening ear, maybe even some direction, I will give people hours of my time. But if someone is using you as a sounding board and they're just going on and on about themselves, even after the death of your dog, even after the passing of your parent, and they're unable to, not for 1 minute, focus off themselves, that is being used, and we must step away from those relationships. So on this very beautiful, cold, damp day, we set boundaries with people. We are not to let people use us. We want to be salt to the earth and a light to people. And we very often have to assess that we can be of no use to anyone. And if we do not enjoy someone that is draining our time, we step back. It is not a gift to anyone to be a doormat, and it is not a gift to anyone to stand there and listen to someone monologue when we have things to do in our own lives. So in this very beautiful day, it is also okay to interrupt the person and say, I need to get going. It is not rude. What is rude is to be so disrespectful of ourselves that we stand there for the 45 minutes that we could have been enjoying a nice run with our dogs and listening to a monologue. And I used to do that. I am guilty of being a doormat, and so I have been learning to set boundaries. We continue growing, we continue maturing, we continue learning that it is okay to set boundaries with people. It is necessary to set boundaries with people for our own sanity so that we can get our lives, we can keep our lives in check. So on this beautiful day, let's get out and get our exercise. To summarize, don't be so gosh darn self-absorbed that you are unable to listen to anyone. Monologuing about yourself is a real drag. It's not the same thing as wanting to talk to someone or sharing a confidence with someone. I'm talking about flat out monologuing. I have experienced the same thing with a couple of other people, and I have definitely taken a step back with them because it is a fruitless waste of my time to participate in that. So have a wonderful day with me. I want you to see the clouds. On this very gray, cold day, we love people, but we don't necessarily have to like their behavior. I love this woman and I have compassion for her, but I do not like her behavior, and I do not like the way she uses me to be a sounding board. Have a wonderful day. Let's get out and get our exercise. Living Fit with Laura, to get and stay sane, stable, serene, and strong. Remembering it is okay to say no to people. Awesome. I'm proud of you.